So good afternoon once again. We are lucky enough to have Kiran sir again with us, and I'm very happy that he has taken time, not just once, twice, and maybe you will be coming for the essay session also. So it is not every day that you get to see the topper every day. Okay, so here he is to help you with the general studies paper 3 today. He had already shared his knowledge and insight on general studies paper 2. So like yesterday, make the best use of this session, and anything and everything uttered by him should be jotted down, and like a very serious aspirants, you should utilize his knowledge and the skill and his hard work and what all strategy he had used during his preparation into your preparation also. Okay, and of course, just one or two sessions throughout the year may not be sufficient, so we would be requesting him in the future also whenever he gets time, at least online from wherever sir is, to keep helping you, in the different stages of the preparation. Okay, so I would like to hand over to Kiran sir. Okay, so thank you once again for coming, sir. Okay.
So first of all, good morning once again. So today we'll be doing GS3. GS3 has again very difficult to score. If you have you observed mark sheets, GS3 is the most difficult to score. GS3 is the most difficult to score. Usually, ಎಲ್ಲ GS paper ಅಲ್ಲಿ lowest if you will find is GS3, but you will always be preparing GS3, and yet GS3 nalle you will be scoring the least marks. So even with my case, I had just 68 or 69 marks in my 22 mains. Then I made a jump to 78 in 2024. Then this year I made a jump to 99 marks. So 99 was, according to few of my mentors who had compiled all the GS3 marks this year of all the toppers, this is the 5th highest all India rank, 99. So again, why me, why GS3? So that's the reason. So GS3 is very interesting to read, very you will be, as I said earlier, you will always be studying GS3. You will always be studying GS3 because economy, you have agriculture, you have science and tech, internal security, disaster management and environment. Like a lot of overlap even with prelims, but very lengthy to prepare. Even if you open your newspapers, most of the topics will be of this. Economy, it will be there on the first page every day. Environment related summits, every 6-7 months there will be a summit. Then a lot of data on renewable energy, internal security related topics coming up, then disasters. So GS3 is like everywhere in the newspaper, most dynamic part of all the 4 papers. So it is, I feel that you can prepare a lot, you can compile a lot of data, etc., do a lot of value addition in this paper. But the problem, as I said, is it's very difficult to score marks here. I think 70-80 is the saturation. So it's very difficult to score. So I will tell what worked for me, but much before that, I think we'll just see how to decode GS3 and what you should be actually doing. So it, with respect to distribution of marks, I feel it is the most well distributed paper of all the 4 papers. No, the most well distributed paper. So let's start with the same. Why do you feel GS3 is difficult? Most people will say, when asked about what is GS3 about, most students will say economy, agriculture, environment, security, science and tech. And this was, like, as I said, very well distributed, 50 into 5, 250, the most well distributed, balanced distribution among all papers. If you look at other papers, it's not so well distributed. This paper is very precisely distributed. So this UPSC does not test subjects in isolation, it tests your ability to analyze problems that cut across these domains or dimensions simultaneously. Knowing the syllabus is not knowing the paper. The biggest myth about GS3, students prepare subjects covering economy, agriculture, environment, etc. UPSC, what actually UPSC tests is economy, like is jobs gap, infrastructure, etc. Agriculture, farmer income, environment. It's not directly asking environment, it's about sustainable growth, about renewable energy, etc. Security, emerging threats, etc. and disaster management. Every question is a real world problem demanding an integrated, the second word is very important, evidence backed response. Unlike other papers like GS1 or GS4, you can quote some data or fact that is, or examples that are not like real life evidence, but here you have to mention evidence or data that is evidence backed, like real data, and that is backed by reports or indices, etc. So that is the difference in GS3. What is GS3 really about? So it's about growth, so sustainability and security. Growth, sustainability, security. Forget those 5 compartments I mentioned earlier. It's about growth, sustainability and security. Growth, see, economy, agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing. These are the engines of India's development model. Sustainability, environment, climate change, disaster management. Now you saw, like, if I look at these 5 distribution and then look at this distribution, growth, sustainability and security. Here security, internal security, cyber threats, border management, etc. So if you see, all those 5 are somewhere overlapping. Again, they are not like only talking about economy, only talking about environment. There is a overlap in economy, agriculture, and here it is disaster management, environment, etc. That is overlapped, and here again security and disaster management are overlapped. So it is an overlap which we don't see until we precisely look at it that way. The 3 pillars of GS3, security, sustainability and growth. Security, military, internal, cyber, we'll do it later in detail. So the third tier here is growth. Growth forms the broad base, the foundation without which nothing else is possible. Let's say a country is not growing economically. How will it protect itself? You cannot look at internal security as isolated topic. Only when I have the resources, when a country grows, it has money, only then it can do the secure its borders or etc., invest in its security. Then sustainability sits in the middle between the ambition and the consequence. Security crowns the structure. So as I said, security is the ultimate purpose of all development. So in any GS3 answer, ask which pillar is being tested: growth, sustainability and security. The PYQ secret, again, going through the micro themes document that I had shared, go through it again. You will understand how questions are divided and repeated of similar micro themes every now and then. You don't go for the broad structures like this is economy, environment. Understand the underlying micro theme, just like what we did for GS2. Understand the underlying micro theme. So UPSC does not repeat topics verbatim, it repeats again underlying theme, just like GS2. So you have to map these recurring threads. In agriculture, every year there will be a question on alternate year, there will be a question on MSP, procurement reform. Every year there, it's like standard. There is nothing it's the most basic topic you have to prepare: MSP and procurement, food security architecture, irrigation, water efficiency, agri marketing and supply chains. Again, very important topic. Every year there is mandatorily one question, like one 10 marker and one 15 marker. Technology in farming, again you will have a 10 marker every year. Then topic in economy, inclusive growth. Clearly it is given, the first topic is inclusive growth. it is a term you have to use again and again across papers, across GS3 as well. Employment skilling, MSMEs, infrastructure financing, manufacturing. Again, directly a question on PLI was asked in 2025. So you have to understand every GS3 question has a core conflict. Identify the tension, then resolve it with evidence, nuance, and forward looking outlook. This is very important in GS3. GS3, you have to, just like we broke down the question in GS2, similarly, here you identify the tension, then you, with evidence, you resolve it, and always give a forward looking outlook. For economy, it is growth versus inclusion. For agriculture, it is productivity versus sustainability. Environment, it is development versus conservation. Security is freedom versus security. Technology is innovation and regulation. So your answer must acknowledge the conflict before offering a resolution. Ignoring the tension signals only shallow understanding of the topic. Very like, this is what I feel. Most of the GS3 answers, why they fail to score more is they're only trying to, they're not understanding the conflict. If a question on technology, particular technology is asked, you're only writing the good things about it. You're not like, that technology will solve all the problems of mankind. You write in such a sense, that will not work. You also have to understand how it is also in conflict with other areas. Like a new technology comes, you also have to regulate it. You have AI, then you also have deep fakes, you have misinformation, disinformation. So someone has to regulate it. So think from those angles. So I'm just giving an example for technology. Same goes with economy. Let's say we have to follow the China model and focus on manufacturing. Now, what is the downside of it? Like, is it the only way to do it, or what are the other development models that you have to understand? So you have to always understand the conflict. The universal framework for GS3, always define the problem clearly and concisely. So you give the context of the problem. Let's say a question comes on manufacturing, the problem with manufacturing sector of India. You define what clearly the problem is, clearly and concisely. Then you always identify the, as I said, topic. You go behind the topic, you will get the causes. You move forward, you get the implications, and then you address it. That becomes the reform. So always think of such things: challenge, causes, implications, and solutions. This is how you should be thinking for every GS3 answer. You should always, this 5-part structure works for 90% of the GS3 questions across all the 4-5 themes. Internalize it, adopt it, and never skip a step. Perfect. So you have to identify the challenge, give what are the causes for it. Causes can be again external, internal, structural, etc. Then implications. Now there are this is the problem, what will happen because of it, that is the implication. Now you write the opposite of it, like that will be the solution. Ranker's approach, yeah, the average aspirant, he will just look at current affairs, read news, make notes, and he will just compile topic wise compilation, then he will repeat it again and again. The ranker, or a very good answer, what will happen is again reverse engineer. He will look at the PYQs, identify what the UPSC actually asks, then he understands the various recurring themes, then he creates framework for all of those themes, then he starts practicing answer writing. What will you learn in this module? Yes, I will, this is the course roadmap. Roughly there will be like 5 into 50, like economy, agriculture, environment, science and tech is like 50 into 4. Security, usually disaster management will be clubbed with 1 or 2 questions, and security will be like 4 questions. So usually there will be overlap in science and tech or disaster management or something like that, or environment and disaster management, there will be overlap. So GS3 formula, this is growth, sustainability, security and development. Think in these formula, these 3 pillars, then you will get you will get an answer. We'll do it module by module. The big picture is development is the question. GS2 asks how institutions function. That is what we learned yesterday, how institutions function. GS3 asks whether development is actually succeeding. Every GS3 answer is ultimately a discussion on growth, sustainability or security, and your job is to show UPSC that you understand which one is at stake and why it matters for India. So you have to look at those three pillars and argument for those things. So you now have the lens. Every section wise module, again we'll do this. See, economy, what you learn in prelims is again just a foundation, just to get an understanding of the terms, etc. Economy in mains is completely different. It is more application based. What you read in prelims is just theory. What you do here is apply those theories or apply those concepts in real world. So the question everyone gets wrong is UPSC asking economics? The answer that changes everything. UPSC rarely tests economics as a subject. UPSC tests India's developmental challenges and the gap between growth and progress. This is precisely the mains orientation you have to do. It will never ask what is repo rate, what is reverse repo rate, what is the various terms in banking sector, etc. It is not worried about that. That is only a prelims knowledge. That will never help you here in mains. The mains is about India's development challenges. Questions will be on manufacturing sector, on India's labor force participation, on women's labor force participation rate, on the service sector, on the agriculture, on it will be about the banking reforms, etc. So it will be more broad based, more application of those theories rather than directly asking the concepts. What most students prepare versus what actually ask. As I said, what students prepare is GDP growth rate. That's the first chapter you study. GDP, how to calculate it, what are the different ways of calculating it. Then you learn about inflation, types of inflation, repo rate. Questions will never be on that. Questions, and then fiscal deficit numbers, you look at the economic survey, etc. You're just utilizing those numbers for value additioning, and those numbers or those concepts per se will not be asked in the mains. What UPSC actually asks is employment, or questions on unemployment, on the structural unemployment or disguised unemployment, reasons for it, how India should address it, way forward, etc. MSMEs, always it's UPSC's favorite topic, manufacturing and MSMEs. Lots of questions every year on MSMEs, manufacturing, etc. Inclusive growth, very one of the favorite buzzwords of UPSC. You should utilize it across papers, across answers. Infrastructure and productivity, directly questions on infrastructure, like the question this year on prelims was Sagarmala. So that question directly, it will be turned into a mains question. Explain what is Sagarmala project, what are its, why is it struggling, or what are its objectives, how India is working on it, what is the way forward, etc. So it will be more, you cannot just mug up facts and dump it in mains. That will not, all those data, etc. You can only use it as value addition. So memorizing definitions is not the same as understanding development. UPSC rewards the latter, that is understanding the development. So the real question UPSC asking is not what is GDP, what is inflation. That is for prelims. Yes, it is us, but for prelims. But we are focusing on mains. But this, like, why isn't growth creating enough jobs? What is jobless growth, or what is job loss growth? What is the what you can say is the tertiarization of economy, where the only third sector, the service sector, is booming. So questions will be on this part, not GDP. GDP is just fact, or it's just a definition. Question will be more applied. Why isn't growth creating enough jobs? How does you study inflation? Question will be like, how does inflation affect development outcomes? So the questions will be more more applied, more application based. That is why again newspaper reading comes in very handy, because you will not get perspectives on Indian economy or Indian development growth just by reading Ramesh Singh or Nitin Singhani, etc. That is only for prelims. For getting perspectives, you should be reading newspapers, you should be reading the op-eds, editorials, discussions, etc., text and context, explained series in Indian Express. That is where your perspectives will be built. Again, what you or I say about Indian economic development will not hold any water. So, experts talking about it will matter. So, you have to quote their names. Like you can go through my notes that I've put on Telegram today morning. One notes I have put was on I've put agri and economy high value addition note, something like that. You can go through that. Dr. Shamika Ravi, who is a member of the PM Economic Advisory Council, or Dr. Professor Ashok Gulati, who is an agriculture economist. So they write regularly in newspapers on these topics, on agriculture, on economy, etc. You should be reading them. Then only you will get perspective. Else, what you will have is just definition, numbers. You cannot know how to utilize them or what those numbers actually say. You will just be memorizing them, and that is of no use. So those numbers should speak. Those numbers should add value, and not just that you are dumping there without making any sense. Why UPSC question is, every UPSC question is ultimately question about why India's development is not happening fast enough and what structural barriers stand. Any problem on economy, you understand the challenges, the barriers, how to address it, way forward. If this is this is how you should be start looking all roads lead to development. See, the topic, the first or second topic is inclusive growth. Why do we need, you should ನೀವು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಓದಿರ್ಬೇಕು, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರಲ್ಲೇ ಗ್ರೋತ್ ವರ್ಸಸ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಓದಿರ್ತೀರಿ. Growth can be positive or negative, but development will always be positive. So why should we have inclusive growth? It will lead to development. Investment models, again, it is for development, infrastructure development, employment. We are talking, you just forget this and think of all of this. Why are we doing all of this? Ultimately for the development. So that is the foundation you should understand. So MSM is globalization, etc. So every theme from fiscal policy to MSM is a lens through which the UPSC examines India's development story. Economy, micro theme, universe. So these are the micro themes that, based on, again, I picked it out from the micro themes document I had provided. So usually questions will be on growth and development, on employment, on manufacturing, on infrastructure, on this trade policy, FDI, the globalization part, public finance like subsidies. Like you will have a lot of questions on subsidies, on how to decrease fiscal deficit, etc. All of this. So every economic question is about a trade-off. Trade-off meaning, like like I am losing on something. I make a certain choice, but I am letting go of something else. That is a trade-off. If you are sitting here, you are losing out on something. That's a trade-off. You could have gone outside, gone to MG Road. So that's a trade-off. That's a trade-off you did today. So every economic question is about a trade-off. So you have to understand that core conflict. So the core conflict is growth versus inclusion. If I'm focusing only on growth and not worried about is that growth actually inclusive, so that's a trade-off. Efficiency versus equity. I'm putting all my money on efficiency, but that result will not be equitable. So that's a trade-off. So you have to understand these conflicts, then you will be better able to analyze and understand the core of the problem. Then globalization versus self-reliance. Every year, like PM Modi ji will be talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, etc. post-COVID. So if we go for Atmanirbhar Bharat, how does it affect globalization? Or if you are emphasizing on globalization, how will it affect self-reliance? So these are the conflicts you should be understanding. So recognizing the trade-off in a question is the first step to writing a structured and high scoring answer. Live example, like, is India's growth becoming jobless? That's the question. Average answer will be like, it lists the GDP figures. Manufacturing is this, agriculture is this, and service is this. And service, like, there's a data on employment intensity, like every 1% growth in service will lead to this much increase in employment. So if you look at that data, service sector has the least employment intensity, because for every 1% growth in service sector, it produces the least amount of jobs. But for manufacturing, it is higher. So you list the GDP figures, unemployment statistics, you define what is jobless growth, you mention the NSSO or the PLFS data, etc. The result is you are just descriptive and not analytical. GS3 rewards analytical answers. It does not reward just mere dumping of facts or numbers or data that does not really matter. If you feel that I am doing all of this, collecting all this data, I will put and I will get good numbers in GS3. No, that is precisely why GS3 remains one of the most difficult areas to score. For GS4, GS1, you can dump number of examples, number of definitions, etc., diagrams, you will get the reward. In GS3, no, it is very difficult to impress a GS3 evaluator. For him, he wants analysis and not just descriptive answer. So top scorer answer he will talk about the growth pattern. That India's growth pattern is service led, that 60% or more of GDP comes from just service sector. Then it is capital intensive and not labor intensive. India is only expending more on the capital intensive sectors and not labor intensive, like the textiles, like the manufacturing, etc. Then labor absorption, low employment elasticity. I was talking about employment intensity, I was wrong, it is employment elasticity. So low employment elasticity in high growth sectors. Employment elasticity is what I said earlier, 1% growth in that sector, how much percent or how many jobs will it produce? For manufacturing, agriculture, that employment elasticity is very high. So 1% growth in manufacturing will produce 100 jobs. This is an example. For service sector, it will be less. It will be just 50 or 40. So that is why, even though we are growing as an economy, we are not producing enough jobs. So low employment intensity. That's the second point I would have highlighted. Second, manufacturing weakness. Under contribution of labor intensive industries, textiles, or the food processing, or any other labor intensive apparels, etc. These are all labor intensive industries. What India does it outsources it to Bangladesh or some other countries or China, etc. And they are taking advantage, and our manufacturing sector is not growing. So skill mismatch, workforce is not aligned with the industry demand. Industry has a certain demand, but our workforce is not aligned to that demand. So there's a mismatch between market and the industry. Structural reforms, labor laws are very tight, very not investor friendly. MSME credit, low credit input or credit issues, PLI schemes, etc. So this is how a good answer will look like. An average answer would be just dumping data, that I know this data, this data came from this report. Yes, that is all good, but it will remain only descriptive. You are not telling, as I said, those numbers should speak, and it will not speak for themselves. You have to put it analytically. And how will you do that? By doing this. You have to identify. So that is why you have to read newspaper articles. Just by reading notes, coaching notes, textbooks, you will not understand this. Textbook has a role to help you understand concepts. But perspectives, analysis comes from newspapers by listening to the experts. So this is the Gibbs framework. Apply this lens to every economic question. It transforms a vague answer into a structured, multidimensional response. So first will be growth. Gibbs is growth, employment, equity, productivity, and sustainability. Growth, always talk about the rate of it. Now all the data that you had mugged up, you can use here. Growth, pattern of the growth, like as I said, India jumped from agriculture to directly to service. Then quality of economic growth, is it inclusive or it is an unequal or growth, etc. Then employment, you have a lot of areas to talk here. Job creation, what is the type of jobs, quality of jobs, labor absorption, informality. So if jobs are not there, jobs are created. If jobs are created, they are not absorbed. If they are absorbed, they are like informal jobs are being created. So you, as we mentioned, it's like a branch. You cut it and you talk about the same point again and again. You will produce more number of points. Then equity, distribution of gains, regional and social inclusion. Then you talk about productivity, efficiency of capital, labor, technology. Then sustainability. Every answer should, you should have a perspective on sustainability, on environmental, fiscal and social long-term viability. So this broad framework, once you apply each, and at least if you are writing 2 points for each, you will be able to produce at least 10 points. You write the opposite of it, you get the solutions. So inclusive growth, one framework, many questions. Inclusive growth is one of the most recurring themes. A single framework can unlock answers on poverty, financial access, human capital and regional disparities applicable. Okay, see, inclusive, you read inclusive growth, you go through the, you Google it, and it has like lot of the UN reports have very in detail described it. Once you understand what is it talking about, you will understand. So inclusion, what is that inclusion? It can be economic inclusion, it is regional inclusion, like the, let's say, Northeast is not inclusive development. India is growing, India is developing, but India's Northeast is not developing on par with the mainstream. So regional inclusion. Economic inclusion, not everyone, there is economic and wealth disparity. That is social inclusion, like women and minorities are not growing equitably. Financial inclusion, like banking, access to credit, etc. Then digital inclusion, we talked about digital inclusion. There will be a digital divide. Yesterday we talked, digital divide can be rural and urban, it can be men and women, it can be old and youth. So you can keep, so if you write at least 3 points for each, your answer for inclusive growth is done, and you can easily write 2 to 3 points for each. It's not that you have to write all 3 points for each of those. If you can write 2 here, 2 here, 3 here, 1 here, then that is more than enough. Easily you can write 7 to 8 points. Then all the data, etc., that you have mugged up, you can utilize it for value addition. So don't make those points or the data or factual knowledge as points. Use it as value addition for all the points that you've generated. So employment framework, again, very repeated theme. Whenever you see employment question, decode it with why are jobs not being created. So demand shortfall, automation, AI, etc. Skill mismatch. Use that word again and again. Any question on GS3, you write skill mismatch. If skill is not there, you skill them. If already skilled people have forgotten their skill, you reskill them. If the skilled people are there but technology has changed, you upskill them. So use those things again and again. So in there itself, you have just with the word skill, you have produced 3 points. Then MSMEs, you can say MSMEs, you talk about how technology contribute, like they're not technological, they're not updated, or capital credit help, credit, yes, low credit supply, the low manufacturing absorption, etc. So this addresses both supply and demand. So this is just again framework. You can think, start brainstorming. MSME framework, every year there will be a question. So get some 5-6 data on MSMEs, the distributions of how micro, small, medium, like micro itself is about like 75-80% of all the MSMEs, then small is like another 10-15. The macro is very less. So MSMEs are the backbone of Indian economy. Discuss the role, challenges and reforms needed. So the single framework covers multiple PYQs on it. So this should be your framework. First you tell the employment status, like how it is contributing to the how it is labor intensive and lot of employment it is producing, how it is also contributing to exports. It is 45% of total India's exports. Then to contribution to GDP is again a very important data, like of the total manufacturing output, more than 50% is provided by the MSMEs. Then innovations, how grassroots level there is frugal means very less innovation. Regional development, how it is only distributed or concentrated at particular regions. Then you talk about challenges, and whenever you talk about challenges, you talk about reforms. It is always like that. If they ask about, you should never end your answers only with challenges, even if they've explicitly said what are the challenges only, they've asked only challenges. Your duty is to address this. Yes, this is the demand, but you also have to move forward and address the give your solutions or reforms, because you are a future civil servant or a officer. Your role is to provide solutions and not just talk about challenges or problems. So make that one small change in every answer across papers. Always end your answer positively. Infrastructure framework, infrastructure question spans, like it can be roads, railways, energy, ports, digital networks. So this one analytical lens works across. So any question on infrastructure, you talk about how it will have a multiplier effect on GDP. There is a huge data about multiplier effect on all of this by the World Bank, like 1% increase or 1% increase in road network, this much will be the increase in GDP. 1% increase in the digital penetration, this will be the increase in 2.5% increase in GDP. So you can quote directly. Then productivity, how we have a more network of railways or interconnected what we call as multimodal transportation network. The logistic cost, it's again a prominent data. India's logistic cost hovers around 12 to 14%, and how the target should be about less than 10%, on par with the developed countries. So you should, again, it's a very standard data, again you have to use that. Connectivity, how connectivity, like the ENAM, how it will lead to, like you have more road network or railway network, you have more you link more number of markets, and how you are reducing the regional isolation. Then competitiveness, every answer you try to put a keyword of ease of doing business. Ease of doing business, mention that keyword everywhere. Ease of doing business is like how easily I can do business. It has numerous components. Go today and just look at what are the various components of ease of doing business. That itself will give you 2 to 3 points. Then regional development, that is the divide we were talking, interstate and rural urban. Manufacturing and Viksit Bharat 20 question, examine the role of manufacturing in achieving a developed India by 2047. So you have to you start brainstorming. You what you do is one is the GIPS that you can do and brainstorm through it. Growth, jobs, exports, technology, MSMEs. You try to brainstorm on different all of these parameters. So 2 points on each, you will get answer on role of manufacturing. For example, you utilize, it's like exports, like India will focus more on exports or exports of agriculture or agri-processed food. Agriculture is a primary sector, agri-processing is a secondary sector. So my exports will improve, then I will get a lot of forex, etc. Then that will lead to developed India. Technology, I am investing more in technology like AI, etc., or any other infrastructure, etc. That will reduce the logistic cost. It will improve my export competitiveness. Again, that will lead to more exports, and then that will be developed. MSMEs, I'm investing more on MSMEs. Currently, they're contributing this much, but problem with MSMEs is technologically they are frugal. So I will invest more on capital upgradation, technology upgradation, and those will contribute to the Viksit Bharat example, etc. You can write the data. So try to create I will create manufacturing, the employment elasticity is high. It will produce more jobs, more growth, and that will lead to, or the labor competitiveness again will improve and will contribute to Viksit Bharat. So you try to brainstorm. So this brainstorm directly mirrors the Gibbs framework we talked there. Apply it to the structure, apply it to structure your answer with growth, employment, equity, productivity, sustainability. So you try to mirror the same dimensions. This is, you don't need rankers from issue to marks. So this should be your answer architecture. First, identify the issue. What economic phenomena is the question pointing to? For example, job loss growth. The question was on job loss growth. What was the economic phenomena there? Job loss growth. Now you identified that, you break that. Why job loss growth? 3-4 points. That should be your first step. Then frame the development challenge. How does this issue obstruct India's development goal? So what happens if there is job loss growth? That should be your 2-3 points. Then spot the trade-off. This is very important. So what happens if there is job loss growth? The thing is, growth is happening, but problem is jobs are not being created. So that is the trade-off here. So what will happen if it happens? You mentioned that trade-off. Then apply the framework. It can be like Gibbs or inclusive economy, employment, MSA. You apply various frameworks and you will get some answers. Then you start writing your answer. When you start writing, then it will be very multidimensional and it will cover lot of things. So don't think only from in economy. What you do is you go to whatever textbook you are referring, go to the index page. You click a picture of it. You see the index. It starts from what? GDP, development, then there is banking, then there is external sector, there is the fiscal policy, monetary policy, infrastructure, external sector, various other things, MSMEs, etc. That itself can be a framework. Any question on economy which is very broad, you can just write 1 point for all of this, you will have 9-10 points. Let's say it is very narrow down to just infrastructure. Then infrastructure you split in various forms of infrastructure. So always think of various brainstorming, answer brainstorming structures of frameworks. That will actually help you, because basic knowledge, basic data, etc. you will be having. My role here is to tell you how to think of answers. Then you can write, not directly write answers. Most people will directly teach you how to write answers. The problem is they will choose particular type of question and you will feel that, okay, I know answer writing now. But when you sit and do the answer writing, you will not. So the point of today's session is to make you understand how to think first, and then naturally you will write. So this is the biggest insight. Most aspirants prepare economics as a subject. UPSC evaluates economics as a development problem. Stop asking what is happening. Start asking why is development not okay. This is, you can leave. So India is the fastest growing major economy. Then why are unemployment, informality, and inequality still persistent concerns? So you can apply, like you can answer this, like India's fastest major economy, still why is employment persisting? We'll take 2 points for each. Why is still unemployment persisting? Skill mismatch, yes, that is one point. Informal sector, again, second, informality, that itself. Why informality? Why are our sectors being informal? Why are jobs being informal? There, agriculture, 45% people are dependent on agriculture. that is informal. Then disguised unemployment, that is again informality. You were adding something? Yes.
Again, skill issue.
Skill issue, yes, that is also there. If they're underskilled, they will not be absorbed into a like formal sectors. Very good point. Yes. Then inequality. Why inequality is still persisting? Social barriers. Anything else? Digital barriers. Yes, that is inequality. Regional issues. You can talk again. Whatever we talked there, you can. Huh? Wage inequality. Yes, that is a 2024, I guess, the Nobel Prize for Economics. That lady won it for the same wage mismatch in like her theory or her thesis was on wage mismatch. You can quote directly. So this was about economy. I'm rushing a bit because you have 6 components here. So we'll cover agriculture next. Very important. Agriculture and environment, agriculture, economy and internal security. I think these 3 topics you should prepare very well, and you have a, you can like, the conversion rate is very good. You will get good marks. Yes, interrelated also. Yes. So agriculture decoded, the most repeated, very fixed. Agriculture, I feel the 50 marks is literally, you can score very good there. At least 30 plus you can score here, because very repeated module and repeated questions. Absolutely no changes. If you have gone through PYQs written number of times, do a lot of value addition, your role is done. It is the most, this and internal security I feel is the most easiest to prepare among all. It reframes again, like it reframes how you think about agriculture. Moving beyond, what you study in prelims for agriculture is crops, on MSPs, on schemes, etc. Here it is much deeper in mains. So you talk about, you focus on crops and MSP. That is the like in prelims you do that. Here it is usually about farmer income and outcomes, emphasis on irrigation and scheme, productivity, sustainability, markets, etc. We'll do this in detail. Is UPSC asking agriculture or rural development? Agriculture, if it was asking only agriculture, it would be about crops or only about growth. Particularly, it would have gone deep into agriculture, but that is not what it's asking. It's about rural development. For example, it is asking about food processing. Food processing is nowhere like only except that the food is produced from agriculture sector. Nothing is related to. It is mostly about supply chains, about creating more employment. That itself is rural development. It is not agriculture. You talk about the food procurement systems. Food is already produced. Now you are thinking how to procure it, how leakage can be stopped, how it can be distributed. That again, it is rural development. So what most students think is UPSC tests farming, like crops, seasons, irrigation maps, scheme names. No, that is not what UPSC is asking. UPSC actually tests agrarian economy. Why farmers remain poor despite bumper harvest, and how rural India can be transformed structurally. This is the question that UPSC wants you to understand. The shift from farming subject to income and sustainability challenge is the single most important reset in GS3. The biggest myth about UPSC, about agriculture preparation is, as I said, you are only studying about crop types, MSME, lists. That is all important for prelims, and nowhere it is going to help you in the mains. Irrigation schemes, you have a list of schemes, programs, etc. But here you can only utilize it as value addition and not per se, you cannot utilize it as answer. So what UPSC asks here is why farmer income is stagnated, why there is productivity gaps, how about sustainability, about market access and value addition. Value addition is nothing but food processing, then food security architecture, etc. So the real question UPSC asks, why? not what. It is not, in prelims it was asking about what, in mains it is asking why. So it will not ask what is MSP, why are farmers still, but it will ask why are farmers still distressed despite MSP. That is the real question. So this is again a straightforward question that has been just with different wordings. Every year it keeps repeating MSP, issues with MSP, what is the reforms that are needed, way forward, etc. Is it sustainable? Is there a need to relook at MSP? So every year question will revolve around MSP and not particularly ask about what is MSP, give me the list of all the crops, nothing like that. So it will not ask what is irrigation, it will ask why does agriculture productivity remain low. It will not ask about what is PDS, public distribution system. It will ask why does food security remain elusive despite record production. This is again every fortnight Professor Ashok Gulati writes on the Indian Express about this. Like every year we have bumper harvest, and you take any other crop you will be having bumper harvest, still food security will be low. So you can, the question is again, every what question in agriculture has a deeper why that UPSC expects you to answer. So this is what we'll be looking at. Agriculture syllabus map, all syllabus topics are pathways to one destination, farmer income. Okay, so farmer income, there's a committee on doubling farmers, is Ashok Dalwai committee on doubling farmers income. You just go to Google, search it, read some suggestions, recommendations of it. You don't have to read the policy document in detail. You can just download it or ask the ChatGPT for 10-12 recommendation. Use them across. If you get end to end of why, what is the, he actually, the committee mentions on 7 areas on how farmer income can be developed. You just map it in any question on doubling farmers income. You can just draw that schematic and you can show it. So that is important. Or any other recommendations that are made, you just go through them and then directly utilize in your answers. Like this is quoted by Ashok Dalwai committee. So that itself can be your conclusion. If you want to start off with that, you can directly make your introduction very powerful and start off with committee. Now let's say you're only talking about definition based farmer income. One student does that, and you are coming with directly the first point you are putting is Dr. Ashok Dalwai committee on doubling farmers income. Definitely your answer will be much ahead than an average answer. So farmer income, so irrigation, MSP, agri marketing, processing, technology, food security. If you are just able to just remember all of this, and any question in agriculture, you just start answering 1 point, 2 point for each of them. Your role is done for agriculture. You can write very good answers for agriculture. So the syllabus is not a checklist of topics, it's a web of interconnected levers. So that you have to understand. When you see any agri question, ask which lever is being tested and how does it connect back to farmer welfare or income. The agriculture micro theme. So these are the repeated themes. You go through the document again, go through agriculture questions that are asked again and again. You will understand that these are 5 broad areas that every year it keeps asking. So you prepare for these 5 broad areas. First is productivity, irrigation, seeds, technology, mechanization. There's a data on mechanization. India's mechanization is like 45% and Brazil has 75% mechanization. China has 55%, US has 60% mechanization. So you can just draw that bar graph and show that how mechanization is very low in Indian agriculture, and that is leading to poor farmer income. That can be one point. So then incomes, MSME, markets, value addition, food processing, you can talk about this. Sustainability, like you are because of the MSP only 2 crops, the paddy and rice and wheat are only being grown, and how there is groundwater depletion in the states of Haryana and Punjab. You can just mention that. So then the problems with that is climate change, groundwater depletion, etc. Um, uh, Huge increase in the use of fertilizer, etc. Food security, like you talk about, okay, now the problem was that two crop problem because of rice and wheat. Now if I try to move away from it, you are suggesting that you are move away from it, promote other crops. But if you do that, food security will be in danger. That's the trade-off we were talking about. We talked about trade-offs earlier. This is the trade-off. You have to identify those trade-offs in every question, every answer. You have to identify those trade-offs and tell. So it's very easy. A normal person will say, like average candidate, we have to move away from paddy and wheat or MSP driven agriculture. If you do that, your food security will be in danger, because you have to produce food for 148 CR people. Then buffer stock, etc. Then diversification, like, so a balanced view will be like, you diversify rather than abruptly change. You diversify, saying that you mix like paddy, wheat, you can, that has to be there. It has to be balanced with dairies, fisheries, horticulture, etc. And this is how you, so every answer should be balanced, and you have to just that spreading the income risk, yes, cereals, etc. Signatures, okay. The core conflict in every agriculture question is, agriculture questions are never simple. They are simply, again, they always embed a trade-off. Recognizing the conflict is what separates, okay, 6 by 10, it's not the marks, it is like the quality of answers. So it separates a 6 on 10, is 6 on 10 answer from a 9 on 10 answer. So these are the trade-offs in, you identify trade-offs in every sector. For agriculture, it is productivity versus sustainability, food security versus fiscal burden, because you are providing MSME, because it secures it, food security is provided, but the problem is fiscal burden, because you are providing so much subsidies, your fiscal health will be deteriorated. This again, you will get a lot of data, like India is spending that's a very good data on it. It is there in my notes, you can go through that. MSME and market efficiency, again, you are providing MSP, but you are distorting with the market forces. So artificially you are controlling prices. That is a trade-off. Growth versus resource conservation, technology and accessibility. For example, green revolution. The green revolution benefits technologically, yes, it was very good, but it was only accessed by the certain states like the West, Uttar Pradesh and Punjab and Haryana. So an answer that misses the trade-off sounds like a scheme list. An answer that addresses the trade-off sounds like an analysis. If you identify and address the trade-off, then that will be when your answer will sound like an analysis. Should MSP continue? Just an example. What most students write is like pros of MSP, how it helps, and cons of MSP you will write. But what a very good answer will say, it will discuss about, does MSP actually reach small and marginal? That's a very good data that says MSP does not reach most of the small and marginal farmers. Only 15 or 16% of the farmers actually make use of MSP. So food security architecture, MSP underpins procurement for, so why are you providing MSP? For PDS. Now if underpins procurement for PDS, cannot be dismantled without altering. If you suddenly shift from, that is what we discussed, if you suddenly shift from PDS or suddenly shift from MSP without having alternatives, you are literally sabotaging your food security. Then reform pathway. Finally, that is where you combine both and give a reform pathway, price, deficiency, payments. This is again discussed all in the doubling farmers income committee. That is why I would advise you to go through that committee recommendations, make 2-3 pager notes, 2-pager notes. You can use them across agriculture answers, code them directly. That is how you will improve your answers. Then DBT, diversified procurement. So this will be smarter than the binary continuation of abolition. So you don't think like a normal, like I will either abolish it or I will continue it. You give a reform pathway that is more balanced. So this is the PPSRF framework. You can again note it. Apply this to every agriculture question. It is your universal analytical lens. So what we used for the constitutional framework. So first is food security. Does this policy ensure availability, access, and nutrition for all? Food security. Then resilience. Can farmers withstand climate shocks, price volatility, and input failures? All of these small dimensions, these are the major dimension, but for each of these, if you are able to produce 1 point, you will have like number of points. You don't have to really worry about finishing your paper. You will have huge number of points. You will be burdened with as to which actually to choose. So then sustainability, always think from this system, is it sustainable? Then profitability, are farmers earning enough above the cost of cultivation? Then productivity, like per unit, how do I improve? So this is the PPSRF: food security, resilience, sustainability, profitability, productivity. Think of it. Then productivity framework, why is agriculture productivity low? A question that appears, it has come again and again. This is just the mechanization question. One of the data you can use is mechanization. Here it is. See, always think of any agriculture question, think from the supply chain framework. I think I have put it on my channel, I don't know, I'll check it. Agriculture has this supply chain from where you prepare the land, you think of what should be the irrigation sources, then you buy the seeds, then you sow them, then you wait for it to grow, then you harvest them, then you decide how to sell it. So this is a supply chain. For every supply chain, if you are able to produce 1 point, you will have huge number of points. So think of agriculture, why agriculture productivity is low. First of all, where will the crops be grown? On land. Problem with Indian lands are they're small. You can use directly quote the data that 90%, 89% of Indian farmers are small and marginal. That itself is your 1 point. Now he wants he goes to buy the seeds, quality of seeds. Again, there is a data on the adulterated seeds or the quality of seeds or the indigenous seeds not being there. If he is using indigenous seeds, the productivity will be low. If he is utilizing hybrid, then productivity will be high, but hybrid seeds he has to buy every year, whereas there is a term for it. The again the corporate lobby as to why the problem with this biotech GT, yes, GM crops, GM seeds is once you use those seeds, you cannot from the plant it does not bear any other seeds for the future. So you can code that. There's a very good term for it. Sterilization, yes. Terminator, perfect, very good word. Terminator, what's that's itself? Yes, that you can mention. So that is a good, very good. So that is again a problem. So every time he has to invest more. So he is putting more money out of his pocket. So small holdings, then he has to put fertilizers. What he does is NPK, the balance ratio he does not maintain. Whatever he procure, because only urea comes under the controlled price control mechanism. Rest all does not come under price control. So he will put urea more. So overuse of poor seed quality. Now he does all of this. There is no rainfall. So you have rain-fed dependency. Again, there's a data 65% of India's agriculture is rain-fed. So if rain does not come, again that is gone. Then let's say his irrigation facility is there, but canal inefficiency is there, then again that is a problem. Then poor, he has already sown, so the crop comes up with some, it catches some diseases. Now there will be agriculture extension services. He goes to the agriculture extension, but the services are not provided. You produce one more point here, weak KVK, Krishi Vignan Kendras, that is again extension centers. They are not helping, or the response is inadequate reach. Then extensive service, mechanization, he's using primitive tools, that is why labor cost is more, that is why he's or if he uses technology, that is again more capital intensive. For a small land, he will not use it, or if he uses it, is again he's putting more money. So low mechanization. So this is all leading to low productivity. So you can always look at, you should look it from a supply chain framework, right from land till harvesting. So if you're producing one point each, it is more than enough. You will produce multiple points. But the thing is, you should do value addition with data, facts, figures, that will add more value to your answers. Because you cannot just say Indian agricultures are small and margin. You tell how many percentage is margin, then that will help you. You cannot just say extension or mechanization is poor. You tell only mechanization is less than 50% in India. Compare it with other. You bring that chart, that will show more depth. So this one framework, multiple question types. This you will also save a lot of time and produce more points. So farmer income, every year you will have a lot of questions. I mentioned there that the committee has 7 different, it has come up with 7 recommendations. For every recommendation you produce 1 point, that is more than enough. It talks about diversification. First is you talk about the issues, like why farmer income is low. So you talk about low productivity, that is why his income is low. Poor market access, like he producing it, but the market is not there. Then no value addition, he's just the raw harvest is producing, so he will get only the processed food will get more price, but he's not processing it, he's just directly giving it to the market. Absence of diversification, he's only focused on one crop every year, he's only relying on a crop, he's not going for dairy, aquaculture or any other etc. Then poor market access, inadequate storage, he has produced but he does not have very good storage infrastructure or in that nearby village, so that is why he is losing on the value. So these are the issues. Now you write the exact opposite of it, you will have solutions for it, that's it. Go for diversification, go for cold storage, etc. Utilize ENAM, etc. And there are various startups, agri startups make use that for market access. No value addition, you mentioned the government schemes like PM FME, Matsya Sampada Yojana, etc. for food processing. Low productivity, how you should tell there's a submission on mechanization. You mentioned that this is how you write something, you write the opposite of it, you will have solution. Yes. Food processing, every year there will be question, every year like mandatory question. So food processing can transform Indian agriculture. Discuss a classic GS3 question with predictable dimensions. It is going to be same every year. You should be ready with all the facts, figures, data, value addition. Like you should be scoring very good. That is why I said agriculture, internal security. These two, 100 marks is very easy to prepare. You should score the maximum here. So scoring GS3 is very difficult, so at least maximize in those areas so that at least you get 85 plus. So basic like value addition, it is use this keyword, farm to fork chain, farm to fork. Now the Ashok Dalwai committee uses a solution as reversing the farm to fork philosophy. It says the traditional philosophy is like we talked farm, we are producing it, and then the harvesting it, then it goes to the market. Then there is, let's say, we talked about poor market access. Let's say I am producing a certain crop and that crop does not have demand in that year, but the farmer produced it nonetheless. So there was information asymmetry. He did not know which crop to produce. That is why it happened. Now what this committee actually talks is reversing the farm to fork. Now it says go from farm to fork to farm. So it says use market intelligence. There should be you like you ask what is the consumers are actually buying. You do a market study, market survey, and then you ask the farmers to produce them. So this is, you just mentioned that that phrase and explain in one line. That will be a very good value addition. Then employment, again the employment elasticity of like 45% of total employment comes from agriculture, but the problem is those the quality of it is like disguised unemployment only. So you talk about that and how food processing will lead to creating more jobs, and it will also lead to rural development. So the jobs will not be just in agriculture, it will be like a mix of at the transition of agriculture and manufacturing. So it will be like, it will create jobs in processing, packaging, logistics, cold storage. So you write that how exports will be higher, and that will lead to more forex. Then waste reduction. India loses every year 30% of the post harvest food. So processing and having cold value chains will directly reduce this loss. This is again a NABARD data. So rural industrialization, this is what we talked. Ultimately, see, the question was, it was never about agriculture. The question was about rural development. You can understand it by through that rural industrialization. So that change in philosophy will ultimately actually help you write more. I say more good answers. So agri processing industries clusters bring industry to villages, reversing the distress migration. Why is there rural to urban migration? That is because there are not enough jobs in rural. So you basically identified that flaw, and that is where precisely food processing industry will come. It is stopping the distress migration. So you identify just these 5 frameworks, you produce 2 points, you have 10 points. Then agriculture resilient, climate resilient agriculture. The sustainability, you have to have that lens in every answer. It can be agriculture, economy, anything. Always look from sustainability point of view. So you will have climate resilient agriculture. So again, how to, this is a very standard, and every year there will be a alternative year, there will be a question, or every year also. So water use efficiency, like these are 6 lenses. Again, you, for every lens you draw 2 to 3 points, you will have at least 12 points. So water use efficiency, crop diversification, how the question will be like climate resilient, explain climate resilient agriculture, or it will connect it to some certain recent phenomena on reduction in farm yield. So what is the way forward? Then you can bring all of this. Insurance, technology, at least see, you will be thinking at least of this: crop diversification, technology. You will be talking most of the time. Most people will miss on even water use efficiency. This part usually most people miss, insurance. So you try to have that angle, and as I told earlier, mention this phrase also: heat tolerant varieties, drought tolerant varieties. You mention those things again and again. Then there is shifted sowing windows. This is also good keyword. Just through keywords you can start answering. Like, you always have to think in terms of keywords. not remember. So don't memorize anything. I told this yesterday also. Don't memorize anything for mains. You should have some way of thinking, brainstorming. That itself is more than enough. Read notes, think. Then how marks are actually made. So in agriculture, you identify the problem, spot the trade-off, apply the framework, build an answer. So what was the biggest insight here? Most aspirants prepare it as a subject, farming subject, but it evaluates agriculture as an income and sustainability challenge. So it should, every answer should ultimately respond to one question: how can Indian farmers earn more while using fewer resources? So it boils down to sustainability. So this is for agriculture what growth is not development was for economy. Simple but powerful. Okay, this is enough. Production is not prosperity. So India is among the world's largest agriculture producers. Then why are farm incomes still low? Now we can do this. So you answered this. India is the largest producer of so many like wheat, paddy, etc., cotton. Why farm incomes are still low? Just one point from each of you. Market access is not there. Storage is not there. 2 points. Poor quality of seeds is there. Soil health, etc. That is very good point. Soil health. Anything else? Domestic consumption, mismatch between production and consumption. Wastage, that is again 25-30% wastage of harvest. So you can think of all this. So you should also talk about, so this is also there, like small and fragmented land holdings. You should mention that in every like you should be thinking about that also. The reveal is like high output does not translate to farmer welfare policies without the right markets, infrastructure, value addition and policy architecture. So you think from this point: markets, infrastructure, value addition and policy architecture. You will find policy architecture is nothing but MSP policies. So then you use the framework, you will have more number of points. Agriculture, we will go to agriculture and we will just go through. So cropping patterns, etc. Cropping patterns is nothing. Again, what are the major factors responsible for making rice wheat system a success? Questions will be surrounding on the same thing. Cropping patterns means it is only talking about the duopoly of rice and wheat system. Then these are like some questions on horticulture, etc. Micro irrigation also you will find some. I think recent years there was no question. Irrigation system, what are the major challenges faced by Indian irrigation system in recent times? What I have put a document on various government schemes, programs, etc. Every theme, every sector, literally I have put at least 10 schemes. Make sure, see why that is needed is because a question directly comes from measures taken by the state, by the government. So there without knowing the names of the schemes, etc., you cannot go and produce anything there. So that is why you should know at least 5-6 schemes of every sector, every theme. So storage, transport, this I feel is every year you will have good questions. Agri marketing is one thing. E-technology, again how technology, this you go through these themes, prepare from these lines rather than just blindly working on it. You can, so whatever these keywords are there, no, you use them directly in your answers. Economics of animal rearing, you directly use that word. Land reforms, again land reforms questions will be there. It usually comes from economy and not so go through this document in detail. You will get a lot of insights. Internal security, agriculture, I'll emphasize again, most predictable portions of GS3. So internal security beyond terrorism and extremism, student focus listing threats like Naxalism, terrorism. Exam reality, it asks about threat management, preparedness, systems training, readiness, resilience. Okay, we'll do this. Is UPSC asking security issues or threat management? So what most students do is memorize organizations, agencies, threat actors, etc. You name of the terror groups, insurgent outfits, security agencies and their mandates. This is what actually is given in the syllabus, but this again might help in prelims, but knowledge of prelims is used as value addition for mains and not directly cannot be used in mains answer writing, will not help. So what actually UPSC tests is causes behind the threats. There's a question on Naxalism. You talk about the causes of that threat. You talk about the vulnerabilities that enable them. What are the vulnerabilities that have led to Naxalism? Then you talk about how the state has prepared for them. What are the initiatives taken? Then response mechanisms and their effectiveness. So it rarely tests organization, it tests the security challenges. Biggest myth in internal security preparation. What is cyber security? What is Naxalism? This such straightforward question would come pre 2013. Now such direct simple questions are not asked. Questions will be more nuanced. How vulnerable is India to cyber threats? So you can see there will be no direct, it will be talking about the same topic but in a much more nuanced, much more deeper analytical way of thinking. So why do internal conflicts persist despite decades of response? Question will never be asked like what is Naxalism? That was again, as I said, would be asked 10-15 years ago. Now it will be more analytical, cause focused and solution oriented. So the pivot is simple. Stop describing what a threat is, start explaining why vulnerabilities exist and how resilience can be built. That is important. Security, again, micro themes. Based on the micro themes document, you will know that questions repeatedly will be on terrorism. Most favorite is left wing extremism. Mandatory, out and out you prepare lot of data, fact, diagrams, etc. I have uploaded a document today morning. It has a huge number of diagrams, keywords, etc. Just utilize them for value addition. Then question will be on terrorism, then cyber security, yes, then border management, then emerging threats. This is also very good, like I feel that in the this can be like kind of questions this year for drones, AI, because we have had a lot of wars, etc., that have utilized these hybrid threats, Operation Sindoor, etc. So this is a problem. And usually what happens is we were expecting a question on Operation Sindoor last year, but that did not happen. And usually UPSC has a habit of giving those topics for the next year. So something happens in 25, everyone prepares in 25, and UPSC will bypass and give that into 26 when you are least expecting it. So every security question has a trade-off. Again, we are talking GS3 entirely is about trade-offs. What are you ready to trade off? And you should understand them. Once you understand and explain that trade-off, the answer will start sounding analytical. See, analysis maadi, write more analytical answers. Everyone will tell, but what is analysis? No one will tell. This is an analysis. You basically understanding the problem, causes. You are then you are explaining what should be done. That is it. That is analysis. Anything you do not do all of these things, then that is a very simple theoretical answer. That's it. So again here, let's say liberty versus security. You utilize the face cam, what airport alli adella issue agitta in Delhi airport or something. For security purpose they are done, but it is violating the fundamental rights or the liberty, etc., or it is leading to surveillance state. Development versus extremism. Let's say northeasterly insurgency extremism is because there is yes, there is a rivalry, or also there is a perceived notion that a certain group is not not benefited, etc. The mighty and the cookie issue, you can talk all of that. Then openness versus protection. If you go for cryptocurrency, you legalize it, but there's a threat of um, terror funding, etc., money laundering, etc. You can mention that. Rights versus enforcement. You can, there's a, for example, hard power versus human dignity. There's a landmark judgment, and also various committees like the uh, Justice Hegde, Karnataka history, Hegde, Santosh Hegde, Justice Santosh Hegde committee. There is some Reddy committee on also on use of hard power and this. So you can directly utilize all of this in the examinations for value addition. Then technology versus vulnerability. More tech, larger attack surface like drones, drone attacks, etc. What it has changed the dynamics of how wars are done. Cyber warfare. Now wars are not fought on the battleground. It is in mind. China goes for the psychological warfare. You can mention all of this. Be open, like put a lot of value addition material. Don't go primitive, like I will only do what the coaching notes is telling, what the toppers are telling. Go beyond. You be original. You read more. You bring in all of this. That will improve your answers. So the VAPT framework, again, vulnerability. Apply this to every internal security answer. It will give a multi-dimensional and analytical depth instantly. So first you always talk Naxalism or insurgency. You tell, explain why, what makes India exposed to this threat, why this threat exists in the first place, or how India is exposed to this threat. Then you talk about the actors. What are the various actors, state actors, non-state actors, the internal, external actors involved, etc. Then you talk about India's preparedness. There's again, I have done this exhaustively in that document. All the preparedness in terms of cyber security, in terms of border management, all of it is already readily available. You just utilize, read it, and start applying it in your answers. Preparedness. Again, that preparedness you break into institutional capacity. It can be legal framework, coordination, etc. So you break each of those lengths and you will get 2 to 3 points for each. Response and technology, cyber defense, surveillance, countermeasure, etc. So this is very simple. VAPT, vulnerability, actors, preparedness, response, or technology. So for example, discuss India's cyber security challenges and measures taken to address them. So challenges, you can talk about all of this, like apply that framework. For all of it, you will get 2 points, and that is more than enough. So you will tell what you will do instead of listing what you would have done is you would have listed down India's cyber security challenges. Here you will demonstrate that why India is exposed. You are answering why India is exposed, who exploits it by answering the actors. By answering vulnerability, you are telling why India is exposed. Answering actors, you are telling who exploits it. Then what exists institutionally, like preparedness. Then how technology defends. You can come up with lot of recent phenomena in cyber security, etc. Result, an instant multi-dimensional answer. So internal conflict framework for Naxalism, insurgency, and radicalization. Move beyond the security-centric answers. 5-dimensional analysis. These are again lot of keywords I've put in for internal security. Go through this. I've made a separate internal security keywords, page 2 to 3 pages. Every answer, like I said yesterday in GS2, if I'm reading a GS3 answer, I should feel that you are reading. Again, in GS3, if I'm reading internal security, it should feel like an internal security answer. You should put those keywords in every answer. It cannot be just that the same language you're writing like an school child. It should seem very mature. You use that government language, that bureaucratic language, authoritative language, that it will start making more impressive. So governance deficit, what you would have written, or what a normal average candidate would have written, he would have written something very like a very elaborate sentence to say governance deficit. Governance deficit itself, that two words will literally club at least one entire line. So try to use there's something called as brevity of words that UPSC in its syllabus has mentioned, that it has used for in mains. The student is expected to show brevity of words. Brevity is explaining more in few words. So this is brevity of words. So instead of saying schools illa athwa hospitals illa athwa etc., this itself is just one word for it is governance deficit. Then development deficit, that there is a poverty, unemployment etc., you can justly say development deficit. Then security deficit, social alienation, this is very good. Then institutional response. So think from these 5 dimensions, you will get a lot of insight. This is not needed. From threat to marks. So first you identify the potential sources of the problem, actors that are important here. Then you understand how India is vulnerable to that threat. Then impact of that threat, evaluate the consequences. Always think of consequences. A topic is there, you see what is behind it, that is the causes. What will happen is the implication. Always think of every topic in this line. So you will at least get 5 points in. That is how you will at least know how to think, how to produce points. Then preparedness. If you've written implications, you will show what is to be done, how India is well prepared and how it is responding, or what is still lacking. So most aspirants prepare security as a collection of threats. UPSC evaluates security as a question of preparedness and resilience. So always ask, this is good. You should write more structured, multidimensional answers. So this is internal security. I feel is the most predictable portion. Please make best use of it. You should score at least like for 50 marks. It will be at least you should score 30-35 there. There are more than 50%, because the scope for in science and tech will get below average marks. So you have to compensate here. In environment again, every 2-3 years he throws some random convention, some pollution which you will not even heard of. So there hardly you can do any justice. So that is why you compensate through agriculture, internal security. Even in economy, he has a habit of giving bouncers, throwing bouncers and weird questions. So this is a way to counteract it through, at least if you are getting 1-2 marks extra here, that will itself will take care of the overall average. The battle here is just for half and 1 mark for every question, every answer. Science and tech is there, environment is there. I think environment will do. So environment, again you will read a lot in prelims. For prelims, here again none of that is asked. Like you talk about ecological niche, you talk about food chain, etc. Nothing will come handy here. So mains preparation is completely different. But if you prepare for mains, your prelims will become better. That is, you can take it from me. That will definitely happen, because you will have a much deeper, better understanding of subjects. That is why naturally your prelims will be better. But if you are specifically preparing for prelims, the danger is that you will not clear prelims in the first place. Let alone clear and then come to mains. So you prepare for mains, then you are at a very good advantage of clearing prelims, also excelling mains. So that's what we want. So again, most students prepare what? Species list. That species list is nowhere useful in mains. Pollution types and causes, fair bit, but again directly you can prepare what all pollutions you have in prelims. He will put some different, he will come up with some random convention or pollution that you will not know. International protocol summit, yes, factual knowledge will not come in of any help. what are the, like he will ask much more broader questions like India's contribution or India's stance on particular, that he will be asking. Climate change definitions, nowhere he'll ask. So what UPSC actually tests is how can India develop without destroying it. We'll do this. So is UPSC asking environment or sustainable development? What you feel? It is sustainable development. The the keywords he has used in syllabus is just for division of syllabus, but the what is expecting is actually much deeper. Sustainable development. So environment is merely the arena. Sustainable development is the actual theme. So UPSC, students feel it is asking about climate, species, parks, protocol. You mug up so many Ramsar sites, national parks, the wildlife sanctuaries. You hardly utilize it here. So UPSC tests your ability to reason about development trade-offs within the ecological constraints. So economy there and agriculture was about development. Now environment is like how will you balance that development sustainably. So that is why environment and economy and agriculture all are in the same syllabus. So it is logical why he has placed certain topics here. There is a logic to it. So this is again the same thing. What UPSC asks is climate resilience, sustainable growth, resource security, energy transition. So the gap between preparation and performance lies not in knowledge but in framing. UPSC rewards aspirants who can connect ecological facts to development challenges. Shift your mental model from memorization to analysis of trade-offs. The real question UPSC is asking, what is climate change, what is biodiversity? No, it is asking how should India grow under climate constraints. We are coming up with, we are signing so many COP 30, 29 etc. commitments, then we are also limiting our development models. So how is India balancing India's growth priorities and also managing its climate constraints or the commitments etc. Biodiversity, how does biodiversity matter for development and not what is biodiversity. So this distinction is not semantic, it determines whether your answers again same. So this is the syllabus mapping. Usually it will be of climate change, environment pollution. Usually every year there will be like alternate year. One year it will be oil pollution, water pollution, groundwater. Then some few years there was a question on oil pollution only in 2 times he had asked. Then EIA, the SIA, EIA. These were again standard questions. Biodiversity and conservation, international climate governance. Yes, yes, on international climate governance. This year also, it was 2015 Paris summit. So 2015. This was 2025. So 10 years of Paris summit had happened. So he had asked about where India stands on its commitments. Where is it lacking? What is the way forward? So always think of these. UPSC loves these anniversaries, and it keeps repeating every 5 years. Yesterday, even with GS2, we talked about the tribunals. The question was there because it should have come in 2021, because 2020 the judgment had come. So 5 years to that judgment. So that is why tribunals question had come. The J&K reorganization, it was 5 years anniversary. That is why again question had come. So UPSC likes this pattern, this 5-10 years, all of this. So you should always be wary of that fact also. So then renewable energy, very favorite topic of UPSC. So all roads, all of this lead to one destination. It ultimately connects to the question of sustainable development. So prepare each topic through this lens and your answers will be more relevant to the expectations of UPSC. So micro themes, these were the recurring micro themes. Climate change. First is climate change. Again, question will not be directly about climate change, it will be about adaptation. That is a word, adaptation, mitigation. you should clearly understand the distinction first. What is mitigation? What is adaptation? What is resilience? So you can, then only you should be able to answer better. Most people will be not knowing the difference between adaptation and mitigation. No, we'll just do this. What is difference between adaptation and mitigation? No, before occurring, nothing is happening. Wait, what? Yes, eliminating the problem. You are not like, I'm reducing this, I'll reduce this. No, I want it to be gone. Adaptation is that I'm not strictly overnight changing it, I will slowly transform. So that is adaptation. The developed countries want mitigation, the developing countries want adaptation. If you understand this simple thing, most of your arguments will be better. See, developed countries, developing countries like India, etc., what we still have a large population to feed, we still have the development priorities. So we would need the coal based or the primitive energy resources. Directly we cannot adapt, we want to adapt. So we want to balance that. Yes, I am ready to go for this solar, etc., green fuels also, but I will also be doing with phasing out, phasing down, and not phasing out coal. That's the difference. But developed countries, like, they've already utilized the benefits of coal based economy, they've developed and they're in good place. Now they want mitigation, like they want to strictly want us to change everything overnight, because they are in a better position. They're, for them it will, because they are now service based countries, economies, so they would not need emphasis on manufacturing. All these resources, where would we need? We would need for manufacturing. So that is the change. First you have to identify, understand that, then things will be much easier. Then energy transition, these are again repeated question. Renewables, last year also solar energy question was there, energy, green hydrogen question was there, net zero commitments, etc. Biodiversity, you will have like ecosystem services, etc. This was a very traditional question. Pollutions, again 10-15 marker, at least one question every year will be on some kind of pollution, air pollution, water, oil, water, it can be anything like groundwater, etc. Oceanic pollution, marine pollution, etc. Then sustainable development as a whole, like EI, green growth, circular economy, etc. The core conflict is every environment question is a trade-off. Now, we were literally continuously we are asking only of trade-off. GS3 is all about identifying and addressing those trade-off. Then your answer will become analytical. So here it is growth versus conservation. If I am emphasizing on growth, conservation will be take a hit. If I am emphasizing on energy security, emission versus emission reduction, then development again versus biodiversity, industrialization versus sustainability, infrastructure versus, so broadly they are overlapping only. So recognize the underlying trade-off in any question. In the first step is to, so you understand this. Are environment regulations slowing the development? Are environment regulations slowing development? Average answer will be like pros and cons, list the benefits of regulation, then drawbacks, then there is no resolution. Ranker's answer will be multi-dimensional. He will talk about the economic growth, ecological costs, long-term sustainability. It will talk about the commitments, climate commitments. Then he'll talk about the green alternative. It will be much more nuanced, much more analytical, deeper, and multi-dimensional. Try to make your answers more multi-dimensional. Automatically, it will sound more academic or more near to the expectations of UPSC. Top answers don't just argue for or against, they situate the question with India's development challenge and propose a sustainable path forward. The winning structure, acknowledge the tension. Yes, the question here is, yes, we should also be needing regulation, acknowledge, but we would also want development. So you acknowledge the tension, analyze each dimension, then converge on sustainability oriented conclusion. So the E cube F sustainability framework, you can use this for environment. First is ecology, economy, equity, energy, and you have the future generation. So ecology, this should have been E4 actually. So ecology, first is the environmental impact and limits. You can utilize the basics of prelims knowledge here first. Yes, utilize the prelims knowledge here. Then you go for the uh, economy, like how it will impact the economic, job growth, etc. Equity, then justice for vulnerable, uh, vulnerable and marginalized. So there's something called as stagnated assets, something like, for example, you have India has invested heavily on thermal power plants, on coal power plants, etc. Now suddenly you are shifting to green industry, green fuels, etc. There is a huge employment, people depending on those the earlier, sudden shift to the other industries. Now you are actually depriving their livelihood. So this is there's a term for it. So you can utilize that. That is why equity comes in. Yes, my intention was right to go for green fuel, but it is also doing injustice for the marginalized and the vulnerable, etc. Let's say there's ಇಲ್ಲಿ Pavagada the example. Pavagada, the the solar park, yes, but people dependent there for the um, ship and ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ farmers, ಇವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ it took a hit. So you can directly, I quoted that example this year. So you can give examples of such sort. Then energy, this energy security, transition, access, future generation, long-term ecological. So think from all of this, like how it impacts ecology, economy, equity, energy, and future generation, long-term ecological capital. So this will give you a good framework. 3 core frameworks for high-frequency themes. Climate change. How does climate change affect development? So 3 core frameworks for high frequency themes. So based on the themes, you can always think of all these 3 different points. You will generate 9 different answers, like 9 points for any question. So you always link it to agriculture, always link it to water security, always link it to health and infrastructure. Health and infrastructure, for example, you can talk about the ಕೊಪ್ಪಳನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಿದೆ, ಕೊಪ್ಪಳ thermal power plants related, mining related pollution, health issues, livelihood and disaster risk. Then for biodiversity, always think from in terms of livelihood, sustainability, climate regulation, etc. This again, it is just a framework where you can produce number of points. Circular economy framework, so resource efficiency, waste reduction, economic benefits, innovation, sustainability. So now again, like for environment, you're just, there are multiple words for just I can write sustainability, but for that, instead of writing that, I can use all of these words. So you have to just stretch your answers for all of this. All of this is all leading to sustainability only. So it is just like writing in different dimensions and then arriving at the bottom. The bottom line is sustainability. So circular, this is just a answer, like a framework for particular answer. So this is like critically examine India's energy transition. So you first talk about energy transition. Like I have a secured energy security model based on the traditional coal based model or the traditional thermal industries, etc. Now I go for some climate commitments like the COP 29, 30, etc. There I commit for something else. Yes, I'll do the transition, but there are technology gaps because the transition needs new technology and developed countries are not ready to provide the technology readily. Again, there are a lot of keywords for it. I've mentioned it in my document. You can use those keywords directly. Then your answer will be very more rich. It will be more enriched. Then you go for just a transition. Just a transition. This keyword you have to mention again and again in. So such keywords I've mentioned a lot. Make a list of it. Then only your answer will. Just a transition is. I told about how a family or a lot of people are dependent on the coal based industries. Now suddenly you are transitioning to green industries, so you are basically depriving of them of their livelihoods. So what you do is you skill them for green technology, green resources, and then you are basically shifting their employment from this to this, and then your objective, you are meeting your objective also, which is of green energy and also not threatening their livelihood. So this is just a transition. Just here means justice, just, good, fair. That is no, it's not a just transition. Don't misunderstand it. So just andre fair transition. So always use that keyword again and again. Each node represents dimension of analysis. So you can draw again multiple angles to each of this. So environment question, always identify the topic, ecological topic that is related. If it is related to pollution, understand the basics of it. Then development challenge, you tell how that challenge is threatening India's growth, or there's a dilemma between development and conservation, etc. You identify the trade-off, surface the core tension or the conflict. Then you apply the framework, apply the ecology, economy, equity, energy and future generation framework. Then you have a multi-dimensional answer. The single biggest insight is how most answers see it as a conservation. No, you don't prepare facts, figures, etc. That is not needed. What in UPSC wants is environment. It is a development challenge. Analyze the trade-offs, apply the frameworks, reason about India's ecological capital. So every answer should ultimately answer how can India grow without exhausting its ecological. So it is understanding this conflict again and again that will answer most of the questions. Now coming to science and tech, I feel is see science and tech. I have put a like my analysis is that there will be question, like the syllabus is has very crisply and very in detail also it has given for science and tech, nanotechnology, biotechnology, space, India's achievements in various sectors in science and tech, so all of this biotechnology, etc. So basics of all of this you should be knowing, a list of schemes, government initiatives, etc. detailed in every sector you should be knowing, some facts, figures related to all of this, like bioeconomy is the current market is this $1 million, it has a potential to grow this, some basic facts about all of this. And I feel it is very difficult to prepare science and tech, because you prepare all of this, you will ask something else. And same with what I told about Operation Sindoor, you prepare that okay, this can be potential question this year and he will put it for the next year. So it's very actually difficult to predict science and tech. What you can do is prepare the basics of all of this, nanotechnology, etc. all of this. I have uploaded one single document on science and tech today morning, go through that document. So it basically covers, one is it gives a framework for any science and tech question. What is it talking, like any science and tech, why is man running behind science and tech? To improve efficiency, to reduce the overall cost, to improve productivity, to reduce human burden, all of this, to reduce the pollution or to make work easier, all of these generic things and any other. You understand that fact first, then you take any technology and apply this. Now you take biotechnology, the question comes on biotechnology. Irrespective of what the question is, let's say the question is only on biotechnology. You apply this framework. ಬಯೋಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿಯಿಂದ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪ್ನಿಂಗ್, you have the GM crops. Then for pest resistant, for agriculture pest resistant. Now you think of medical, yes, you can talk about various cancer treatment, chemotherapy, that this etc. All the CRISPR technology etc. You can talk about that. So think in terms of this for every technology, and you will have some basic understanding. And now with this you couple it with, as I said, all the government schemes, projects, government's expenditure, some facts, data, figures etc. on each of these sectors. Same goes with space exploration. Any space question comes, you talk about how it improves, like impacts weather forecasting, agriculture, television media, wars etc. or intelligence gathering, digital communication etc. So you just brainstorm for every technology like this, and you will get at least a decent answer. Barik ಒಂದು fodder material ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. Then how to do validation, all of that. See, questions ultimately will be either very specific or very broad. Very specific, like this year the question was on ITER, the thermal, what is it called? Yes. So question was on not only on that, but India's contribution to ITER, which is basically a fusion program where they are creating a mini sun-like project, and various countries are coming together, and various countries have their own contribution. So you can prepare all of this, and question came like something like this. So science and tech, it is difficult to actually answer. So that is why I am saying agriculture, internal security, or even to fair bit disaster management, you can do better there, so that you compensate for such questions. If there is a very straightforward question, then you are very lucky, do it. So my suggestion is, yes, this is what UPSC wants is applications, real world deployment. So I have also uploaded that document, go through that, where for every technology, opportunities or advantages and challenges, I have done like 10 points each with examples. That will give you a broad base, where any random question comes, you are able to write at least a decent answer, at least fill pages and write a decent answer. So you go through that document. So that is how I tackle science and tech. So UPSC asks about applications, real world deployment. It will not talk about what is nanotechnology etc. No, it will ask a definition, but ultimately you have to come up with real world deployment, nanotubes, the drug delivery mechanisms, various the nano materials etc., medicines, drugs etc. So this, it wants real world examples. So collect such real world examples. This is again prelims knowledge, which will come in very handy. Then opportunities, always think of this. Opportunities nothing but advantages. So that is a list I have made. Opportunity and risk I have done. Rest all is same for everything. So risks, always go for opportunity. What is the advantages? Social and economic gains. Then risks. Risk is nothing but threats. So negatives, challenges. So at least that part I have given you ready made. Go through it. Then regulation. Any technology, it has to be regulated. If it is not regulated, you have certain problems. If it is regulated, also you have certain problems. So for example, AI question comes, so you talk about jobs, governance, ethics, space, it's about economy, security, innovation etc. So the real question UPSC asking is not what is quantum computing, what is AI. It will ask how AI will transform India's economy, governance, society. So it will broad based, much more application based, rather than asking what is AI. What does quantum computing matter? Why does it matter strategically for national security? So much more applied, and also very narrow down it to national security. So that's it is difficult to prepare science and tech. So my advice is at least you should have some broad understanding of all the technologies, prepare this application opportunities, risks and regulation, then you can apply it, model it for based on the demand of the question. So this will help you. Most PYQs revolve around these 5 domains. As I said, biotech will be first, cyber technology, space, digital technologies, and it has clearly mentioned something called as emerging technologies. So this you should keep it in mind. Again, the core conflict is identifying the trade-off. You can just answer these 5 on both sides. You will have at least 5 points. That's a particular technology. You talk about how India is innovating, etc., and versus how it is difficult. For example, the AI or big data, etc. If your India is spending on innovation, whereas there is questions on in AI summit, etc., there are questions on regulation. The developed countries want no regulation. The developing countries want some medium kind of regulation. So you can identify, mention this as example, AI summit, etc. You can mention. Then efficiency versus privacy, automation versus employment. Any technology you can always bring it down to employment and how it applies, how it disturbs the existing status quo. Security and openness, AI, you have deep fakes, etc. Too open, then it becomes it becomes more dangerous. Then growth versus ethics, like again you are this ethical angle you try to bring in one of the pointer. So recognizing this trade-off in every question will be your signature move. So one framework, I have given a much more larger frameworks in my notes, go for that also, but also this, the framework is called as power. Power is productivity. How does this technology enhance economic output? For every technology you do this, how it will enhance output. Second, opportunity, what are the new opportunities? So the question on cryptocurrency, what are the opportunities for finance markets, opportunities for the banking, opportunities for transactions, etc. Then comes welfare, how does it improve citizen well-being in public? Then ethical angle, as I said earlier, mention this point for every, for GM crops, there will be an ethical angle. For the test tube babies or the something called as designer babies, you can always come up with ethical concerns there, moral dilemmas, bias, surveillance, exclusion. Then regulation, if there is any technology question of regulation, policy frameworks that is needed, you apply this. Example, artificial intelligence, examine the opportunities and challenges of AI in India. So you apply this, like for opportunities you apply positively, for this you will have the positive ones. Let's apply it. For example, productivity, what will happen with AI? You say productivity will increase. How it will increase? Like if I would, for the recurrent repetitive tasks, I would have 10 people doing the same thing, AI will do it for 1. So my productivity will improve. For example, robotics, again, like a person is doing the repetitive task, so their robotics and AI driven robot automation will be more beneficial. It will reduce the overall cost also. What are the opportunities of AI? India is a growing service industry. India has huge number of engineers, so India will have a better, more market coverage. Then welfareism in AI, you can AI in opportunities, welfare, you apply the W, power, POW. Now for health, education, skilling, etc., you can utilize it for anything. You will have one. Ethics. Now AI problem. Now here you can also talk. Now we are talking about the opportunities. So you talk about, let's say, it will also help in pattern recognition and help in all these scams, etc. It will help in averting all these digital scams. Then regulation, yes, you talk about the positives of it. Negative, you write the exact opposite, you will have another 5-6 points. Ethical is that job loss, etc. It has certain racial behavior, that it gives certain kind of output, then it is not inclusive, it will lead to job displacement, etc. High energy intensive, all these data centers, etc. You can talk about that. Regulation, if you are not, again you can talk about this AI summit and views of different countries. Then welfare, digital divide, it is only utilizing, helping in the elite or the urban elite, etc. So productivity, yes, it is helping in productivity, but it is leading to job loss, you can talk about that, etc. So national power framework, stop writing Wikipedia, start writing strategy, yes. So apply this framework when answering on space. See, always talk about this. This is called as the economic power, strategic power, technological. This is combined called as the comprehensive national power. This was a PYQ in few years back. What is comprehensive national power? This was a GS3 economic question. So you can utilize that framework here. Basically, comprehensive national power of a country is its summation of all its like defense, military, economic power, technological power, etc. Digital and technological power. All of this is called as CNP. So you can utilize the same framework here. So any broader question comes on cyber security, on space, on semiconductors, on AI. So you can link every technology ultimately. Why are we developing all of these technologies? To improve our defense or improve our national power. So you can compare it with economic power. You tell how investment in AI will lead to this much improvement in jobs or improvement in GDP contribution, export promotion, etc. Then strategic power, how it will lead to more better high quality defense equipments that will improve the deterrence, etc. For example, in the nuclear example, you write nuclear, India's nuclear programs. Then technological sovereignty, how it will lead to reduction in, we talked about China's dependency on Chinese supply chain yesterday. You can directly utilize that. So innovation ecosystem, you tell how it is leading to push to the startups, the R&D. So that is leading to more industry, academic and industry linkage, etc. Global competitiveness, yes, it will put India on the global map. It will also, India will be part of the global value chain, etc. So compare it to the national power. So you identify the first is technology, you tell how it is deployed, what is its impact. That impact you can map across dimensions. Then risk, again you write the opposite, you will have risk. Then you talk about regulation. So this single shift, this is the change you have to make. For and go through the document, you will have number of inputs about science and tech. The other topic that is remaining here is disaster management. Disaster management, it is overlap with environment. So usually what happens is this year 2025 absolutely no question on disaster management. So we actually finished the paper and then we were thinking, where did the question, I felt that I had missed a disaster management question. Then later I got to know that there was no disaster management question. So in that year, in the last 6 to 8 months, whatever happens, you just prepare for those disasters. That is more than enough. You don't worry about the preparing all the disasters. That is not at all needed. You go through the NDMA guidelines. Let's say in the last 6 months, there has been a cyclone, there has been a landslide or any other disaster. Prepare thoroughly. While preparing, like beyond the 2027 mains aspirant, you prepare basic notes for all the disasters. But specifically for 2026 mains, what you do is you would identify, list out at least 5-6 important disasters that have happened in India in the last few months. Now you prepare detailed notes for this. Any notes on disaster management should include the basics of that disaster, like you should not go too detailed, but at least some facts. For example, earthquakes. data is that 59% of India's territory is exposed to earthquakes. So such data for every single disaster you should be ready. Then you should have some form of diagrams, if there it is any, you can do that. Then go for lot of disaster management keywords are there, like DRR, disaster risk reduction, you have Sendai framework, you have the there is something called as risk, hazard and vulnerability. You can literally create multiple points just by expanding each of those risk, hazard, and most people think they are overlapping, but they are very different. Risk, hazard and vulnerability. You can also draw that map. Then you go for NDMA guidelines. What has NDMA told on how to avert such or handle such, and also go through the NDMA Act. Some basic pointers are there, like the setup of NDMA, so that you will understand who is the first responder, how the response mechanism is actually distributed. So understand the organization setup, you will be able to better. Then also go through some best practices. I have put a best practices document again today morning. You go through that. It is comprehensive across GS 2, 3, 4. But the thing is 1, 2, 3 and best practices are like, let's say Orissa, after cyclone Philin in late 90s, it was one of the disaster biggest casualties that had happened in Orissa. Now they came up with the Orissa model of cyclone management. Now in 2000, very recent 2017, there was another cyclone that happened, equally dangerous. While the 90s disaster cyclone led to casualties up to like thousands, can you guess the number of casualties in the recent one, like the 2017? Hundreds. Any other numbers, please? 2 digits. Okay, the casualties was 0. So that is why it is called as the Orissa model of cyclone management. You can directly quote it. Any question on cyclone comes, you can talk about that. Question on the earthquake comes. There is something, the South American country, Chile. Chile has a very good earthquake resistant or earthquake prone building designs, etc. Also Japanese building, you can always directly quote such the base isolation techniques of Taipei, Taiwan, etc. You can directly quote those examples. So I have made an intensive list of best practices. It is not segregated, you can go through it and you can segregate based on your paper wise themes. So NDMA guidelines, keywords, data and best practices, and this India's, there's also a framework given by PM Modi on disaster management. You can directly utilize that also. So all of this is more than enough for disaster management. Don't worry too much about disaster management. As I said, 5-6 disasters you can identify, prepare them. Broadly you can prepare some form of answer writing. Ultimately, if you understand the framework of this, again you can, any disaster, even if you are not prepared, you can write an answer. The objective of yesterday's and today's class was, how can I write answers? I am assuming, this is based on the assumption that you know basics. Now I am only helping you to brainstorm, think faster, so that you write within those 7 minutes or 11 minutes in a structure, and you are spending less time on actually thinking. It should come in very naturally. So that was the objective. It was only about answer writing. With respect to what should be read, what is should be, that I think foundation course is there, lot of material is there, you can study. Any other doubts on GS3? See, I can directly do not say this institute or that institute. Any standard material, mains ready material, you can go through that, but because most of them will be same, as I said earlier, the powers and functions of the government will remain same irrespective of whether which institute are reading. My focus is that you fix your resource first, read them number of times, make these value addition notes for each paper, then start doing answer writing. That should be the pattern. Anything else? We can wind it up. Sunday I will be taking a essay session. Again, essay, huge changes in marking. Either some people are getting 70, 80 and some people are getting like 110, 120, 130. So it's a make or break paper. You can do crazy stuff in GS, optional you have done well. One paper is enough to just throw you out of not just rank list, but maybe not get even the interview call also. Or let's say even if you make the inter call, it will be, you will be barely making. That is why essay again is a very important, and most people think that I will prepare GS that and essay is an extension of GS. So that is wrong, and that is what I will be trying to address. Sunday we will be doing essay, the art of answer writing, and I feel that it is the most underlooked aspect, but very important, game changer I would say. And it's an open field, unlike GS or even option. There is no predetermined requirement that you should write only this, because it's an open field, creative field. So all your extra reading, all your extra reading, your interests, your hobbies, all will come in handy in this essay paper. I feel essay is just like ethics, or even more than ethics. It will help you in. It's a creative field. You can actually enjoy writing essays. So that's it. We'll do essay on Sunday. It was a good session. Anything else? You go through the Telegram channel. I've put a lot of material there. Please utilize that and start writing. Okay. I'll see you around. Thank you so much. Have a good day.